Hey, what is up, you sexy beast? GhostSickness Tristan here to bring you a brand new story. So this is a hilarious story that happened to me last year of the shortest date ever. So there are some really fucking funny elements to the story that you guys are going to laugh at. So anyway, guys, I'm going to get right into it. So this happened about a year ago. I was 22 and she was 36. So before you scream at me, all right, how I met this girl through Tinder. And at the time, you know, still to this day, actually, she was the oldest girl I've ever gone on a date with, if you can call what I'm about to tell you a date. I've actually hooked up with a 32-year-old MILF. That was a really great story that I'd be happy to tell you guys if you want to smash 100 likes on this story. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, we had talked on Tinder for a little bit, and then I got her Snapchat, and we had talked on Snapchat for a couple weeks, man, and I've been trying to get this girl to come over, trying to get her to come over. And then, you know, she would just kind of curve me in regards to the date, but would still entertain the idea. Like, she would basically be totally about it and then back out last minute, which would always piss me off. And so I just kind of was like, okay, whatever. And we would, like I said, we would exchange nudes, and she was even kinky and shit. We sexted about what we do to each other and, you know, pull her hair and all this shit. And she would call me daddy. And, you know, I think I still have her nudes, actually. But anyway. So we would do all that, right? And she was about it, and I was just like, okay, cool. And again, she had passed my not a catfish Tinder test, which basically is you get her Snapchat and you exchange nudes, or they don't have to be nudes, but also selfies, right? And you make sure she's sending them live instead of them being preset photos, right? Just through the Snapchat section. You make sure they're live and they have like the red logo and all that fun shit. So we had done all that, and I was like, okay, she's legit. Now, she's a little thick. I'm not going to lie, right? This isn't some thin, petite, you know, 36-year-old, but she looked okay. You know, not the best looking girl on the planet. Not as hot as a 32-year-old, man. That was a good time. Anyway, but, you know, she didn't look terrible, all right? She wasn't like street trash. So I can't fucking breathe. Anyway, we had finally made one date to go to a local dive bar. It was kind of like my date spot. And the reason it was my date spot is it was less than 5 minutes from my house, all right? I had done the geography fucking research on this shit, and it was the closest bar to my house. And I'm like, okay, man, they got reasonably priced drinks. And keep in mind, this place was a fucking dive bar, man. So they got... One day I went in there for a date, and I had never seen this before, and they had like peanuts on the floor and shit. But anyway, it's not the best bar, not the most high-end bar, if you know what I mean. But it doesn't matter. So it was kind of like my regular spot. I think when I went in there, they didn't even ID me because they knew I was a regular. Anyway, and the waitress was like Velma. I'm getting off track. So anyway, we finally made a date for 7 p.m. on one fateful day. I think it was just kind of random and sprung upon, right? I don't even think I was horny that day, dude. That day I had probably beat off fucking twice. Actually, I did. I guarantee this comes into the story later. So I had beat off twice, and I was just like, oh, what the fuck? And then she finally hits me up like, yo, are you free? And I'm just like, of course you would hit me up, like literally after I bust my second nut of the day, and I'm not horny at all. You know, I got post-nut depression and post-nut clarity all at the same time. But anyway, so I'm like, okay, man, I've been trying to hit this chick for a while. I got some Viagra. That's a story for another day. At home, so I was like not even worried about it. I had that shit in my pocket, by the way. That was so fucking funny. Anyway, so we make a date for 7 p.m. and I get there at like 6:55 because, like I said, it was right next to my house. I only had to leave it like not even 6:50 to get there at 6:55. It was crazy. So I order a Blue Moon, which is, you know, pretty good beer in my opinion, and I close out my tab. I'm just sitting there. You know, I'd been to this bar several times on dates. I had done this before with the 32-year-old, for example. And yeah, I get there before her. I got my drink. I closed out my tab because I'm like, man, I'm not going to drink like crazy. I'm just going to kind of have this as like a social thing, you know, just to say, oh, I went here so that they'll let me sit down in the bar and go on a date. So anyway, so she finally gets there, right? And I see her, and luckily she looked like her photos. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I've been on some Tinder dates where they absolutely do not look like their photos. And you got to like hold up your phone right next to their face, and you're like, are you fucking sure this is even the same person? But anyway, so yeah, we hug, and then we go back to the seat, and I'm just like, all right, man, you know, I already have my drink or whatever. So we start talking about the drinks. She like turns my beer around and sees that I ordered a Blue Moon. I'm like, yeah, it's pretty good. And she's like, okay, cool. Like, I'll get one of those too. And I'm just kind of sitting there, and she's like staring into my eyes, and I just don't say anything. And then she gets kind of frustrated and gets kind of pissed off. And then she immediately goes in this really bitchy tone, man. And this is when it absolutely all went downhill, bro, because this was absolutely fucking horrible. And keep in mind, at this bar, sometimes they'll come to you to, like, you know, place your order or whatever, take your order. Other times you got to go up to the bar to make your order. So when I got there, I had to go up to the bar to make my order because the waitress was not, or the bartender was not coming back to our table. Anyway, she stares deep into my fucking soul and she's like, aren't you going to order it for me? And in like this most bitchy, most entitled tone I have ever heard in my entire life. So keep in mind, boys, I had already beat off twice today. She's not the hottest looking girl on the planet. And I'm already turned off because she just gives me this really bitchy, entitled, well, aren't you going to order it for me? And I'm just like, no. I had already ordered my drink and closed out my tab. So I was just kind of confused. I was like, no, I'm not going to order it for you. What the fuck do you think this is? I was really confused. And I'll get to this in a second. It's a good talking point after this story. And I was just like, look, I never said I would buy you a drink. Then she gets really mad and she goes, I dress up, I do my makeup, I drive all the way over here for you and you won't order me a drink. And I was just like, yeah, I will not order you a drink. You know what I mean? Especially with her attitude, man. I was super turned off by her attitude. If she had been like, may you please order it for me, in like a really nice kind of begging, like I'm going to suck your cock in about 30 minutes kind of tone, yeah, I probably would have gone up there and ordered that goddamn drink. Let's be real. But she just said it in such a bitchy, entitled way. And it wasn't even about, dude, let's be real, right? The drink was like $5, and with a tip, you know, it's like $6, okay, after tax and everything. It's not even bad, dude. It's not even bad to get one drink, okay? It's not about the money, honestly. It was about the way she said it and her attitude of dating. And again, I'll get to that in a second. So she gets even more angry and she stands up and says, you know what? A little drink would have gotten you a long way. And she like pushes in her chair and she starts walking out immediately, dude. And keep in mind, we haven't even been talking for like 30 seconds. I mean, the lines that I was telling you guys that we talked about, that was it. There wasn't even any other conversation to be had. And keep in mind, I had been texting this girl for weeks trying to get pussy, man. Trying to get her to just come directly over and, you know, makes sense. She wanted to meet at a bar first, blah, blah, blah. And I guess this is why. So this was the craziest part. As she's leaving, she shouts in the middle of the bar. And there's other people there, dude. And she's just like, you know, I don't remember exactly what she said, but it was something along the lines of like, all you had to do was buy me a drink. It's not that hard. And then leaves the bar and everyone like looks over to me and I just kind of smile and start cracking up a little bit. And I finished my beer. And then later that night, I went out and bowled with my buddy Kevin. I hit him up and I was like, hey man, plans fell through. Do you want to go bowling or something? You know, I was just super bored. Had to tell him this story. It was too fucking funny. It was my absolute shortest date of all time, guys. I'm not even joking when I say this shit didn't even last 1 minute. And I'm not even talking about my sexual performance here, man. I'm just talking about sitting in person with a girl and I refused to buy her a drink because of her attitude and that she was entitled. So the point that I raised to you guys, right? And I had this conversation with my brother and I'm curious because there really is two takes. I mean, some guys think that you have to buy them a drink, you have to pay for the first date no matter what. And I don't really agree with that line of thinking, man. I mean, if she doesn't have a job, that's one thing. And if we had agreed that I was going to buy her a drink, keep in mind, we had never agreed to this. We had never talked about this prior to the date. You know, who's paying? Oh yeah, I'll buy you a drink or whatever. I never said that shit, okay? So if we had agreed to that beforehand, obviously, sure, I'll go order her a drink. I'd be kind of pissed that she acted so entitled, like, aren't you going to go order it for me, bitch? Like, no, really, I'm definitely not going to order it after you ask that way. So it brings up an interesting question, man, because I've been on a lot of dates where we go Dutch. And what that means is I pay for me, she pays for her. It's not that complicated. You know, we're getting a drink. We're talking about $5-6, dude. So me fronting this girl a drink doesn't really matter. And my brother's opinion was like, oh, well, dude, if she's going to put out, like, it's a small price to pay. And I'm just like, dude, but it ain't about that. It's about the principle, you know, it's about how she treated me, just assuming that I would totally, you know, bend over backwards and pay for her drink and go order it for her too. You know, I was just kind of like, you know, if I just met her, like, yeah, sure, let me buy you a drink. Let's talk. It's cool. But the way she went about it, man, like I said, if she had looked at me with dick sucking eyes and gone, can you please order a drink for me, daddy? Or some shit like that. I'm totally copping, right? But dude, the fact that she just was super rude and bitchy about it, I was turned off. I had already beat off twice in the day. I was not horny in the slightest. And of course, out of all nights I'd been trying to pound this chick, this was the night that she wanted to go out, dude. So I was already kind of, 2 feet off the bed, if you know what I mean. And it was just a really horrible, really funny experience. I had to tell my buddy about it. So, lesson learned, I guess. I mean, dude, next time just pay fucking $6 for some poon. I mean, shit, that's a pretty good hooker, man. That's a pretty good deal. But anyway, guys, what do you think on that regard? Do you go Dutch the first date? I've actually had girls turned off by it before, like me asking prior to the date, like, yo, you cool if we go Dutch? But most of the girls that I've met, at least my age, right, are about it. They're totally fine with it. And the other girl, the 32-year-old, I didn't even order her a drink. Like, I asked her, and she didn't even want to order a drink, or I didn't order her a drink or anything. We just talked. It was great. Anyway, that's a story for another day. So, guys, the story lasted longer than the date. Stay sexy, you beasts. I'm GhostSickness. I fucking love you guys. If you smash 100 likes, I'll tell you the other MILF story.